Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to our online Kashmir Cultural Heritage Awareness Series. Today is our 69th week, and our speaker today is Sri Sunil Raina Rajanaka. And the title is Kashmir, the Spiritual Seat of Higher Learning. Today's prayer is by Visalakshi Ramanan. She is a Chinmaya Mission Sevika and involved in conducting classes, Bhagavad Gita, uh, devotional, bhajans, and also sits as judge in these competitions. She is joining us today from Calicut. Visalakshmi Madam, please take over.
Riva Charanam. Today I am going to sing Andal's Tirupavai, second Pasaram. Today, second day of Margari month. வையத்து வாழ்வீர்காள் நாமும் நம்பாவைக்கு செய்யும் கிரீசைகள் கேளீரோ பார்க்கடலுள் பையத்துயின்ற பரமனடி பாடி நெய்யுண்ணும் பாலுண்ணும் நாட்டாலே நீராடி மையிட்டெழுதோம் மலரிட்டு நாம் முடியோம் செய்யாதன செய்யோம் தீக்குறளை சென்றோதோம் ஐயமும் பிச்சையும் ஆந்தனையும் கை காட்டி உய்யும் மாறன்னி உகந்தேலோர் ரம்பாவாய்.
Thank you, Visalakshi. We'll see you again in our programs. We thank Kanchi Mutt for our ongoing Rajendra Saraswati Swamigal. As we all know, Kanchi Mutt has always been in the forefront, working with the sole aim of national integration, spiritual enlightenment, and preserving the uniqueness of Kashmir, as Kashmir is our cultural heritage. We are very pleased to welcome Sri Sunil Raina Rajanaka. He is an independent researcher and in the editorial board of NAAD magazine. NAAD magazine is a monthly journal published by All India Kashmiri Samaj for the last over 3 decades. Some of our eminent speakers are through AIKS, All India Kashmiri Samaj. After reading their articles by them, I approached and they were very pleased to join us and more to come appear in our program. I'm sure Sunil ji will share more details on this and also his Kashmiri connection. Over to you, Sunil ji. Are you there? Okay.
Yeah.
You have more slides to go, or you will take care of the slides, sharing the screen?
Yeah, I will do the sharing. Namaskar to all of you, to all the viewers. I thank the Kanchi Kamakoti Mutt for inviting me for this prestigious talk today. Before I begin, let me invoke the blessings of our masters. Agadi Sanshaya Ambodhi Sam Uttaranataranim Vande Vichit Arthapadam Chitram Tvam Guru Bharati. May the words of our Guru carry us from this unfathomable samsara. So, whatever today I'm going to share with viewers and with you, it is all which has been delineated, explained by our gurus, our masters, our historians and scholars. So I would be only presenting the work which they have done. This all credit it goes to them. I am just a presenter before all of the audience. So let me carry on my presentation. I have made a small presentation which can be shared with the viewers, and then we can further discuss on those slides. So I hope it's visible to you.
This is the one, right? Is the one?
Oh no, no, I am going to share the other
Oh,
one.
you
Just
share.
hold on.
Okay, okay.
You remove it from the webcast. Is it visible now?
Still not come yet. You're
Okay.
sharing the screen, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm sharing the screen.
There is one slide I see here. There are many slides actually there. Those are not the ones. 1,000 years
No,
of.
those are not. No, no, no. That's I just changed the title, though most of the content is the same.
Yeah, I think that one you uploaded. Now you are probably sharing from your screen.
I think some issues there while presenting this.
But yeah, okay, I see something else now. This is the one, right? This is the one? No.
No, not this one. You please delete it from there.
Okay. Yeah, I think you both are on the screen for you.
I think it has some issues with the. You can display the previous one. Okay. So you need to scroll it. Then I am not having the access to it. Okay. Okay. Now going back to the first slide. So we must know that Kashmir, which is the center of Indic civilization, is also famous for the various scriptures which have been written there. Not only the scriptures, various Indic thought processes have emerged from the Kashmir Valley. The notable among them is the famous philosophy of Kashmiri Shaivism, which which we have delineated or which has come from the ancient masters and which is still continued in the land of Kashmir. And its followers are all the Kashmiri Hindus spread across the world. Now, can we go to the next slide? So, because of this philosophy of Kashmir Shaivism and also the integral worship of the mother goddess, Kashmir is known as Mother Kashmir in local language. It is called as Merj Kashmir or Ma Kashmira. This is the painting of Mother Kashmir made by the famous Kashmiri painter artist Shri Virji Sumli. Now, what is the connection of Kashmir with the rest of the Indic civilization, or what we call as a Sanatan civilization? The first shloka where the Kashmir is mentioned as a great place comes from the Raj Tarangani. Raj Tarangani is the historical treatise written by the Pandit Kalhana in 12th century. In the 36th shloka of the first chapter, he mentions that in Kashmir there is not a land equivalent to a sesame seed, which is not a tirtha. So, which implies that whole of the Kashmir is basically the spiritual land. That's what the Pandit Kalana wants to convey in his in this shloka. Similarly, the connection of Kashmir can be found in Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, there is a particular shloka mentioning about the Kashmir. And if you go further, beyond Mahabharata's time or into the Ramayana, Ramayana also mentions the historicity of Kashmir. And you will be amazed that the Mahabharata has given the geographical description of many various places across the Indian subcontinent. And one of the prominent places is Kashmir, because during the Mahabharata war, during the war which was held at Kurukshetra, the Kashmir king could not participate because he was infant. His father had earlier participated against Pandavas and was killed along with Jarasandh in Meerut. So therefore, his son was not able to participate in the Mahabharata war. So this gives us a historical perspective that Kashmir and the rest of the India had a close bonding. Rest of the India means we can say that it was a part of a larger Indic confederation. So that is how the history of Kashmir is. And moreover, the history of Kashmir can also be obtained from the Nilmat Purana. Nilmat Purana is a treatise or the scripture which is written around 6th century in Kashmir by Rishi Nil. Rishi Nil traces his family origin from the Rishi Kashyap, and the place where he wrote Nilmat Purana is called as Neel Nag in Kashmir, and this is the famous Purana where one can get all the details of the ancient Kashmir about its socio-cultural matrix, about its lifestyle, about the worship of the people, about the various activities which the people used to do in the Kashmir, their festivals, their food habits, their dresses, their day-to-day living. So one can get an idea of the ancient Kashmir from the Nilmat Purana. The beauty of Nilmat Purana is also there. It also mentions about the deities which were worshipped during those times. So it has a historical continuity from the ancient Ramayana to Mahabharata till Nilmat Purana. So all those documentation has been done in the Nilmat Purana. The other important factor of the Nilmat Purana is it gives the importance of how people used to live, celebrate, enjoy life, and do the various day-to-day activities. So this is a very important Purana in the historicity of events in Kashmir, and from where we can get a complete information about the role of Kashmir and about the Sanskrit civilization which Kashmir had very prominently during those times. After Nilmat Purana, we have Raj Tarangni, which again gives us the historical evidence of the Kashmir, its religious matrix, and how the kings in Kashmir not only did the various campaigns in the rest of the Bharata, but also carried the campaigns to outside what we call today's outside India, like Gandhar, like Tibet, like Kashgar. So all those details and the number of kings in those lineage are mentioned in Raj Tarangni. So next slide, please. So coming to the history of, the Srinagar city, as I earlier mentioned, that Kashmir had a very good concept of mother worship as well as Shiva worship. It is also a fact that Kashmir had a sizable Vaishnavite scholars over there, preachers, and that is why Ramanuja, Madhvacharya came all the way from south of India to Kashmir to understand the various philosophical aspects of the Vaishnavites also. But the predominant philosophy or the surviving philosophy was the Shaiva Darshana, also known as Trika Darshana, which delineates that whole universe is an aspect of Prakash and Vimarsh. Prakash means light, and Vimarsh means the awareness of that light. So whole universe is basically the awareness, the creation of the Param Shiv through Shakti. So therefore, both Shiva and Shakti are two sides of the same coin. And because of that, the various parts of the Kashmir Valley were codified and worshipped as a different forms of Shakti. If we go from the North Kashmir, there is the Sharda Peeth, the reigning goddess, the ruling goddess of knowledge, aesthetics, and higher learning. Then, if you come to the towards downwards towards the central part, then you have the temple of Bhadrakali. Then you have a temple of Tripur Sundari. Then in the Srinagar city, which is named after the goddess Lakshmi, is the temple, famous temple of goddess Sharika. Goddess Sharika is the presiding goddess of whole of Kashmir Mandala. Why we call it? Because she is the highest form of the Paradevi, Para Para Tripura Sundari, which has 18, considered with having 18 arms, which denotes her Ichha Shakti, Gyan Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Chit Shakti, and Anand Shakti. The goddess is also referred as a Shri Devi or Shri Lakshmi or Shri Chakreshwari, and that is why the Srinagar city got its name from this goddess, because this temple, the temple, and which has a shila, a big boulder over there, which is worshipped, and where the sadhaks have been worshipping since ages. There is a naturally formed Siri Yantra, and because of that Sri Yantra, the whole of Srinagar city came to be known as Shri Nagari, the place where there is a Shri Yantra, or the place where the goddess came in the form of Lakshmi, Shri Lakshmi. So that is why this Hari Parbat is the center of Srinagar city, and this whole Srinagar city is being guarded by 8 Bhairavas from in different directions, which is a part of a tantric tradition. Wherever there is a goddess, a very powerful goddess, it is being powered, and it has been protected by the Bhairavas from all directions. So Srinagar city also has different Bhairavas, which have been guarding her from different directions. So that is the aspect of Srinagar city, and that is why the Srinagar city, since its historicity, derives its name. Now, coming to the kind of philosophy like Kashmir Shaiva Darshana is there. So the Guru Krama, I would like to take you from the Guru Krama, because when we talk about the historicity and the kind of uh, values which the Kashmir had derived from its civilization, from the Indic civilization, so it is just like a relationship of a soul and a body. So the Kashmir also is not different from the various Indian philosophies, and therefore Kashmiri Shaiva Darshana, which got its most prominent space in Kashmir, derives its origin from Lord Shiva, who appeared in the form of Sri Kanthanatha. After that, he imparted this knowledge of Kashmiri Shaiva Darshana to Rishi Durvasa. So Rishi Durvasa had three born children, and this is the kind of like Trimbakanath, Ardha Srinath, and all these generations came into existence till we had till in 10th century, around 10th, in between 10th and 11th century, we had the great Acharya Abhinavagupta, who codified all this Kashmir Shaiva Darshana into a philosophical treatise, and gave the expositions such brilliantly that even now the world over people are puzzled over the kind of knowledge, the kind of work which great Acharya Abhinavagupta had done. He wrote the magnum opus, Tantra Loka, which gives us the deep insight into the various tantras existing during the time of Acharya Abhinavagupta, or predating before Acharya Abhinav. Not only the tantras which were written in Kashmir, but the tantras which were written in different parts of the country are mentioned in the Tantra Loka. And I request to the people who are watching this uh, live broadcast, they should at least read some works of great Acharya Abhinav Gupta. Rameshwar Jha, the great Shaivite scholar of our century, mentioned that Abhinav Gupta is the greatest man who ever walked on the earth in last 1,000 years. So such is the grandeur, such is the knowledge, and such is the encyclopedic view of Abhinav Gupta that he is still venerated. And people across the globe are reading, writing, and trying to understand the work which great Abhinav Gupta had done. So these all, the work of Abhinav Gupta is not only the one only which stands alone, but predating him are the various gurus, Acharya like Acharya Utpaldev, who gave the philosophy of Pratabhignya, Acharya Somanand, Acharya Vasugupta. So this is how the journey of Kashmir Shaiva Darshana came into existence, spread across all Kashmir Valley, and then across the various parts of India. So if Adi Shankaracharya gave the Advait Vedanta philosophy, so what Abhinav Gupta polished that Advaita Vedanta, and we also called Kashmir Shaiva Darshana as Par Advaita, the Advaita which is even explaining the reality in more detailed form. So that is how the Kashmiri Shaiva Darshana originated, took its journey all across the time. So, apart from Acharya Abhinav Gupta, then there were Acharya Khemraj, Yogaraj, and other scholars who mentioned about the history of Kashmir. They wrote various treatises, commentaries on that. During the period of invasions, during the period of invasions, the gurus had to keep themselves confined, and the journey of these gurus, the reality of these gurus, and the works of these gurus came in around later part of the 18th century or the earlier 19th century. One of the great works which have been revival of the Kashmiri Shaiva Darshana was done by Swami Ram. He was born in 1854. He revived the various scriptures and made a following among his people, allowed various people to join the Kashmir Shaivism, and encouraged the message of Kashmiri Shaivism among the masses so that they are not deprived of this great philosophy. Because during the period of invasions and during the period of foreign rule in Kashmir, this philosophy was relegated to the background, and it was the great work of Swami Ramji which encouraged the people to study more on Kashmir Shaiva Darshana. He made various disciples, and one of his prominent disciples, Swami Mehtab Kak, was dedicated to teach the teachings of Kashmir Shaivism to Swami Lakshmanju Maharaj. So after that, in the current century, we can say Swami Lakshmanju Maharaj had done a great service in reviving Kashmir Shaiva Darshana and spreading the philosophy not only in India but across the globe. During his lifetime, when he was in the physical form, students across the world came to Kashmir, and that is how Kashmir Shaiva Darshan is not only famous in India but across the world, mostly in Italy, in Germany, in US, in United Kingdom. The scholars all the way came from those countries to study this great philosophy for the elevation of the human soul. Now, coming to the back to the teachings, now the geographical part, how Kashmir is important, how Kashmir was connected with these teachings of Kashmir Shaiva Darshana. You know, Kashmir, as I told you earlier, in Kashmir, the epicenter of the Srinagar city, known as Hari Parbat, had the abode of Shri Chakreshwari, or the goddess Sharika, which is governed or guarded by the eight Bhaivas from different directions. Similarly, whole of the Kashmir Mandala, or the Kashmir geographical entity, was governed or protected by 64 different Bhaivas. So Bhaivas are basically the Gram Devtas or the local guardian deities. The word Bhairava comes from the Tantra. The etymology of the Bhairava means Baran, Ravan, and Vaman. Baran means one who protects. Ravan means one who devours, and Vaman who throws out, who creates. So Basically, the Gram Devta is connected to the Supreme Bhairava, the highest Shiva, or the Par Bhairava, or the Param Shiva. So these entities, these local deities were in different parts of the valley, who were the first call or of the devotees, where there was any function in the family, where there was any kind of a ritual. So the first call was the local Bhairava, as this is done in the other parts of the country. If you go to the like in Ujjain, or if we go to Banaras, or if you go to Datia, or even if you go to Konark or in Bhubaneswar, you can find the worship of the Bhairvas is still there, but not as prominent as it must have been in the earlier days. But in Kashmir, this worship of the Bhairvas was continued since antiquity till 1990, because the people used to go to those places, worship, offer their obeisance, and do all the kind of celebrations in the whatever was codified as per the rituals. Now, as I told you, the Srinagar has 8 Bhairvas. So these are the names of the 8 Bhairvas which are guarding the Srinagar city, guarding the city from all its various sides. Like we have Anandeshwar Bhairava, which is near the famous Lal Chowk. You may be knowing that Lal Chowk gets often in the news. So Anandeshwar Bhairava, the king of the Bhairava, is his temple is at Lal Chowk. Similarly, there are Shitaleshwar, Mangaleshwar, Bahuketeshwar, Hatkeshwar, Tushakraj, Puranraj, Vaitala, which are in the different 8 directions of the Srinagar city. So this is the pen picture painting of Anandeshwar Bhairava with Agoreshwari along with Bhairava, and it is having 18 arms, which again I denote her Icha Shakti, Gyan Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Chit Shakti, and Anand Shakti. These are the Shaktis which Lord Shiva have in his highest form. Which is a part of a detailed philosophy of Kashmiri Shaivism, for which we may have to go for another session, not today. So this is the temple of Anandeshwar Bhairava. It is said that most of the time the great Acharya Abhinav Gupta had stayed in this temple and composed various hymns in praise of Lord Shiva. This is another Bhairava, Shitaleshwar Bhairava, at another part of the Srinagar city. So this is the Mangaleshwar Bhairava, again in the downtown Srinagar city. This is the Vetal Bhairava at another far corner of the city, Srinagar city. This is the Bhairava which is in the village in Martan. Many people may be knowing the Martan Sun Temple is there. The Bhairava protecting the Martan Temple is Ganganand Bhairava. Though the sculpture of that is missing it, but we are worshipping some kind of handmade stone sculpture over there along with a tree. So different parts of a valley have different Bhairavas to protect, and the believers, the followers of Kashmir Shaiva Darshana, means all Hindus in Kashmir had to get aligned to these Bhairavas, because these Bhairavas were their family deities. So the worship of these deities, of these Bhairavas, was part of our day-to-day life. So these are the different Bhairavas. Now coming to the rituals and festivals, you know very well that Kashmir had a worship of Shiva Shakti, and one of the prominent festivals of Kashmir is Shivratri, the union of Shiva and Shakti, or we can say the union of Para Shiva with this universal form. We can say the emergence of transcendental form into the immanent form. And the worship is basically the worship of Swachanda Bhairava. So you can see the image of Swachanda Bhairava where Sadashiv is holding the Swachanda Bhairava in his hands with 5 heads, which is Ishan, Tatpuru, Sadyojit, and Vamdev, and wearing the elephant skin, yeah, having a tiger skin also, which denote that elephant skin is worn because he wants to tear the laziness from the devotees, and tiger skin is worn because he wants to remove the ego component of the devotees. So this is how the description is there about in the tantras about the Swachanda. Swachanda means spontaneous, the Lord who immediately spontaneously creates this universe. So main Shivratri festival is done in praise, in worship of Swachanda Bhairava. So this is the Swachanda Bhairava for with whom we are worshipping and continuing the worship since ages. So after the worship of the Swachhanda Bhairava, we worship the Vatuk Bhairava. The Vatuk Bhairava is the small form of the Lord Shiva only. Vatuk means a child. So that's how these are the various utensils, clay made utensils, which are worshipped in the Shivratri festival, and which is basically connecting the self into the higher self. So it is a journey from the smaller to the higher, from the external to the ephemeral. So that's the main aim, is to get this awareness with the supreme self, with the supreme Lord. The another form of worshipping in Kashmir is that of Amriteshwar Bhairava. His description was earlier in the form of Netranatha in the Netra Tantra. So Netra Tantra is also one of the tantras which were written somewhere in Kashmir, and had a great description about the worship of the Amriteshwar Bhairava. So this is the Amriteshwar Bhairava, which is the Lord of Elixir, which carries you from the samsara. His elixir, or his Amrit, is in the form of divine blessings, which can elevate human life to the great, to the higher self. Now, influence of socio-cultural matrix of Kashmir. See, you know that even the Sharda script, which evolved in Kashmir, uh, had also connection with the Kashmir Shaivism, where Shiva aspect is considered, where in Kashmir Shaiva vowels are considered as Shiva and consonants are considered as Shakti. So this is the beauty of Kashmir Shaiva Darshana, where each aspects of our day-to-day life are connected with the Supreme. And this concept of Shiva and Shakti, consonants and vowels together, give us an idea of Prakash and Vimarsha, which is further delineated by Acharya Abhinavgupta in his works, which is known as Paratramshika. Also, in our rituals, like when there's a bride and a groom in a marriage, both are worshipped as Bhairav and Bhairavi. Both are worshipped in the form of Lord Shiva and Shakti, and people pray to them at that time because they are considered as the embodiment of the high spiritual self, Shiva and Shakti. So this is how this whole parampara is carried on. This whole Sanatan parampara is being very much existing in our day-to-day lives. In the married ladies or brides in Kashmir wear a dangling gold dangling chain like this, which is known in local language as a dejhur. This dejhur is nothing but a Siri yantra, and this is a symbolic Sri Yantra which represents the triangles in different formations, which are the part. If you know very much Sri Yantra or Sri Chakra, in Sri Yantra there are different triangles. So one of those triangles, with the bindu, are inscribed on these dejur and are worn by the Kashmiri ladies, which show that they are continuing the spiritual heritage of Parashakti, the spiritual heritage which the goddess has given. And this is the continuity of that Sanatan traditions till now. Even in birthday rituals, Kashmiri Hindus celebrate the birthday rituals. That is also worshipped by praying to the Sapta Chiranjeevis like Hanumanji, Parshuramji, Ashwathama, Raja Bali, Kripacharya, and so on. So these are worshipped in that way, and the first prayer is done to the local family Bhairava. So the continuity, you can see there is not much difference. There may be some kind of a ritual or local tradition flavor different from other parts of the country, but the underlining theme is the same: the worshipping of the Sanatani traditions, deities, and cultures. Similarly, the worship of saffron. Kashmir is famous for its saffron flowers, and its prominence is also found in Kashmir only. The saffron, if you see the saffron flower, it is a very important flower in Kashmir Shaiva Darshan also. Why it is important? Because it has three twigs. If you can see this flower, it has three twigs which represent the three different Shaktis. which are the Parashakti, Upper Shakti, and Upper Shakti, means the highest Shakti, the medium Shakti, and the lowest Shakti. And these three also define as the universe is created by Lord Shiva and Parashakti by these three different energies. It can also be defined in Kashmir Shaiva Darshan. It is also defined that it denotes these three twigs denote that this is Shiva, Shakti, and Nara means human being, or Pati means Shiva, Pashu means we, and Pash the bondages. So that is why this saffron flower is an important aspect of our day-to-day worship also. Now, Sharda Peeth. This is the important Peeth for which many of our speakers and scholars have earlier mentioned. I will not go into in detail of that. But what is important to mention here is that even Adi Shankara traveled all along from Kaladi to Kashmir to the Sharda Peeth. And it is here that it is said that he has composed Saundari Lahari. There is a folklore in Kashmir that when Adi Shankaracharya came to Srinagar city, uh, he stayed at a place now which is known as Shankaracharya Temple, which is named after him only. There is a small cave adjacent to the eastern side of the temple. Small cave is there, and it is said that Adi Shankaracharya, along with his disciples, stayed there for some considerable time. And it is here that he composed Saundarya Lahari in praise of the Divine Mother. And he was so much engrossed that one day he had certain doubts, and a young uh, girl child came to meet him. And after that meeting with that girl child, further enhanced his faith in the mother worship. And he wrote Gauri Stuti in the praise of the Divine Mother. The Gauri Stuti is the hymn of 10 different stanzas, stotras, which is daily recited by the Kashmiri Hindus, even now in all families. And because of that, he's getting pleased with the girl child. He gave him a targa. There's a kind of a headgear which is worn by the Kashmiri ladies earlier, not now much prevalent, but on the day of marriage, the brides wear that targa, which has a braided kind of cloth on the backside, which is looking like a serpent. It is said that Adi Shankaracharya gave this headgear along with that cloth to that girl child, representing the Kundalini Shakti. So, goddess of Sharda, you know very well, is imparting knowledge of wisdom, considered one of the originators of music and ragas. And it is said that the goddess plays santur. That is the beach mantra of the goddess Sharda is that she plays the santur, is the santur playing goddess. So, Avinav Gupta mentions about the various ragas which have emerged from the goddess in his work, different works on it in Tantra Loka, and also in Paratrishka Vimarshani. So therefore, the goddess, has been so kind that Abhinav Gupta further explains the Natya Shastra which Bharat Muni had written. Bharat Muni's Natya Shastra was further polished and explained by Abhinav Gupta, and that commentary is known as Abhinav Bharati. So people understand Natya Shastra through Abhinav Gupta more in detail as compared to directly from the works of Bharat Muni. And the credit of ninth rasa, which is the Shanta rasa, also goes to the Abhinav Gupta because he added the ninth rasa into the existing eight rasas given by the great Bharat Muni. Similarly, he explains the nature of dhvani, the sound, the words, and all these works he attributes to the work of goddess and goddess Sharda. And all these works were not only confined to the works of Abhinav Gupta, he made and ensured that it spreads across the length and breadth of the Kashmir. Similarly, walnut. The walnut is another important part of offering. Like in South, we offer coconut to the in any kind of a worship. In Kashmir, the important offering is the walnut. In any ritual, any festival, this walnut is a central fruit which is offered to the deities. So if it represents It has two shells outside, which represent the union of Shiva and Shakti. And inside it, if you when we vertically break it, there is a heart formed shape inside it, which represents that the Parashakti, the Shiva, resides in the heart of the devotees. And that is why it is considered very important fruit, or that to be worshipped in all rituals and festivals. Even in a funerary, if you go to funerary rituals and rites, follow the calendar of Bhairav Yag is a calendar. There's a worship of different kalis in 12 days. In Kashmir, the worship is done for 12 days. There are 12 days are considered as pious, like 10th day ceremony is there, then 11th and 12th. So these are rituals are corresponding to the worship of the different 12 kalis, and these kalis are basically derived from the Kashmir Shaiva Darshana, where there is a school, particular school known as Kram school, which is Kram means sequence, where there are different kalis, and those worship of these kalis is taken from those schools, from Kram school, and these rituals are then followed after the funerary rituals when somebody leaves for the final abode. Similarly, the geography, when I say geography and different rivers and different places of worship, the important ritual or the worship is that of the goddess Vitista. You know, Vitista is the ever flowing river in Kashmir, which is now known as the river Jhelum. Vitista is now also in Kashmir parlance known as Vyat. So, Vyat or Vitista is derived from the Sanskrit word Vitista, which is another name of the goddess Parvati. So this is the image of that goddess Vitista, which is on the vahana of this goddess is the fish, golden fish, which is very much prominently available in Kashmir, and different aspects like mirror, lotus, shank, and other aspect rosary and Amrit Kalash are different aspects of the goddess, which gives the details, further details on how the people used to worship the river in the form of a goddess, her different energies, her different boon giving valuable assets. Similarly, I would like to draw your attention that whole of the Kashmir mandala has different kul devis, because whole Kashmir is considered as the abode of goddess and is known as Devi Angan. Therefore, each family has a particular Bhairava and a particular Devi to whom they have to worship regularly in all of the celebrations and festivals. So, Kashmir had four different primary Kul Devis, one of them being the Shri Sharika, which I already spoke about. Then on the South Kashmir, there's the Shiva Bhagavati. Here is the image of the Shiva Bhagavati, which is worshipped by the people residing, the Hindus residing in the south of Kashmir. Then in the central Kashmir, there's another goddess, Bhumi Devi, which is worshipped. Then in the central Kashmir, there's the goddess Raganya. This is the goddess which was brought to Kashmir by Lord Hanumana when the goddess got displeased from the acts of Ravan and requested Hanumanji to carry her from Lanka to Kashmir. And here is the abode of the goddess at Kheer Bhavani, which is also known as the local name of the village is Tulmula. So these are the different goddesses across the length and breadth of the Kashmir. Different. So when we say Kashmir, so Kashmir is basically the land of traditional Sanatan civilization, where each village, where each brook, where each tree, where each mountain, where each river, each spring is considered into the different forms of different deities. Different deities are worshipped in these places, and therefore, like you can see the goddess Jwala, her temple is in the another part of the Kashmir Valley, which is known as Pampur, where most of the saffron fields are there, and the people worship there. So therefore, the goddesses like Sharika, like Shiva, like Jwala and Ragna, they form the four goddesses in different four corners of the valley who are worshipped as the Kul Devis. Now, coming to again to the aspect of Kashmir Shaiva Darshana, The important role by Swami Lakshmanju Maharaj was establishment of the Ishwar Ashram in Nishat near the Dal Lake, where the teachings were done on Kashmir Shaivism, disciples were trained, and people across the country and abroad visited to learn more about Kashmir Shaiva Darshana under the lotus feet of Swamiji Maharaj. So, Swamiji gave various lectures on Kashmir Shaiva Darshana, on Tantra, and these are the various works which Swamiji explained to his devotees during his lifetime. Even now, the world over, various people study those texts of Kashmiri Shaivism as explained by Swami Lakshmanju Maharaj. So these can be found in the forms of books and journals which are being published by the ashram regularly. Now, saints and poets of during the medieval times, in around 14th century, another great Shaivite saint, Laleshwari, emerged on the Kashmir. The present Kashmiri language is basically attributed to her because it is she who is said to be the one who gave this language to the masses. Her shrutis or her poetic lores are in the form of works. There are some 200 works attributed to her, which explain the day-to-day lives of our human soul, how a soul earnestly need to seek that divine, and how can attain shivahood through various meditations, through various penances, which she herself had done during her lifetime. Her guru was her father, Sri Siddhi Sri Kantha, and she was trained into the Shaivite principles, and gave her works which explain her journey, her pangs of separation, her wisdom, her life teachings, and they were codified by the believers at that time. Similarly, later in the 17th century, we had another great poetess in the form of Sri Mata Rupa Bhavani. She again considered Laleshwari as her spiritual guru and carried the legacy of spiritual message among the masses. She is also considered as the incarnation of goddess Sharika because her father was an ardent devotee of goddess Sharika, used to pray to the goddess, and it is said that one day at around 3 a.m. in the morning, goddess came to see her father and asked him what does he want, and as a boon her father told her that he wants a daughter like the goddess herself. So the goddess, this beautiful girl, was born in the family, and she was named as a Rupa. And then Rupa Bhavani also emancipated the lives of human beings around her vicinity. She did a lot of tapasya, penance across the length and breadth of the valley. There are various 8 to 9 places where she had done her tapasya, and they are still preserved. And if one goes to those places, one can see the high spiritual vibrations in those places. Another great saint around the 18th century was Jivan Shahji. He's said to be from the Nath Yogi traditions. You know that there was a Gorakshnath sect in the rest of the India, and some of the Gorakhnathis were in Kashmir also. At a place called Rainavari, there was a small area which was known as Jogi Lankar, and that place was given the kind of a spiritual hermitage for all those yogis or the yogis who used to come from different parts of the country. Similarly, Swami Parmanand wrote a lot of literature and poetry on Vaishnavite traditions. Therefore, there were other gurus like Shankar Jurasdan, Pandit Krishan Jurasdan. His poetry on the flora, fauna, and beauty of Kashmir is very well written in his works. There were female deity saints also like Radha Mali, Rechred. Then Swami Nandlal ji was there in the 20th century. Bhagwan Gopinath ji was there. We had these two, Devi Sharika ji and Devi Prabha ji. These both of them were the lifelong devotees of Swami Lakshmanju Maharaj, who used to talk about Kashmir Shaiva Darshan. And today, unfortunately, at the advanced age, Prabha ji has merged with the divine, and that is the day of Prabha. Today is the day of Prabha ji's divine journey back to her Shivahood. And these are the various famous mountain shrines of Kashmir. There's a Harsheshwar Shivalinga is there. It is in deep inside the mountain. It is said that when Lord Shiva was chased by Bhasmasur, so he came into this shrine and stayed for some time. So there's a naturally formed Shivalingam over there where devotees go on Shravan Purnima to pay obeisance to the Lord Shiva there. Of course, you may be aware of the Amarnath shrine. That is again a very ancient shrine. The original name of Amarnath is Amareshwar. That is how it is referred into various ancient scriptures and Mahatmyas. Then there's a Harmukh Gangabal mountain range. The Harmukh means Shiva's face. Shiva's Mukh is face. So Harmukh has a lake below this mountain, which is known as Gangabal, which is also referred as Ganga of Kashmir. And people across the valley used to go and worship this lake and the mountain. Mountain is considered, this Mount Harmukh is considered as the Kailash of Kashmir. Parikrama used to be done to this mountain. And this is how different places of Kashmir, as I told earlier, river, mountains, flowers, stones, springs, were connected with the philosophy of Kashmir. That is how the Indic civilization and the Sanatan civilization treats its surroundings and environment. So that's the philosophy of Kashmir, as you I told you. It says, "Na Shivam Vidyati Kavachita." Nothing that is not Shiva exists anywhere. This is what Abhinav Gupta wrote in Tantra Loka. Beyond this, I would also like to draw your attention that Kashmir was not only referring to these Shaivite traditions. Kashmir Vaishnavite traditions were also very much there, and various Pancharatra agams, the agams which gave the information about the worship of the Shri Vishnu and Shri Lakshmi, were written in Kashmir. And one of the places where this was written is known as Pradman Peet. The eastern side of the Hari Parbat, where the goddess Sharika's temple is there, was known as Pradman Peet. Pradman is one of the name of Lord Vishnu, where it was worshipped and considered very holy. So all those Pancharatra agams, somewhere around 218 or 20 some, they were written in Kashmir and then they spread across various parts of the Kashmir. Even there is a uh, Chaturmukh Vishnu worship in Kashmir, mostly in the region of Pulwama and Avantipora, where the worship of Vishnu was done in the form of four faces. And this particular cult or a sect was only found in Kashmir, which was later taken towards Mathura, where now this cult is prevailing and worshipping the Chaturmukh Vishnu in its current form. Also, since Kashmir was the central route towards the Central Asia, various Buddhist scholars from Central Asia came to Kashmir, from Kashgar, from Tibet, from Kandahar, and studied the various treatises on Kashmir, on Buddhism in Kashmir. And the indigenous philosophy of Buddhism also got developed in Kashmir in the form of Sarvastivada Buddhism. So we can have a different session on that philosophy sometime later, how that philosophy emerged in Kashmir and how it was in close connection with the Kashmir Shaiva Darshana. One of the greatest saints in Buddhism, Kumar Jiva, who is worshipped famously in Tibet and in China. His father was Kashmiri and his mother was a princess of China. And he also came to Kashmir because his father was a Kashmiri. He went to China and got married to the princess over there. But his mother brought the child to Kashmir to study the various treatises on Kashmir and Buddhism particularly. And he was referred later by the Buddhist scholars as the light of Asia. His name is Kumar Jiva. So there were various Buddhist scholars which also emerged in Kashmir and explained the philosophy into the indigenous language, indigenous ways. And the fourth Buddhist council was also held in Kashmir at a place called Harvan. So we can say that Kashmir was always a part of the Indic civilization where learning, literature, philosophy developed and got explained from time to time. People learned various ways of higher learning in the name of music, in the form of aesthetics, and try to connect all these with the with an aim to realize one's life, improve one's life, and connect themselves with the greater Vedic civilization. This is how the Kashmir was all about. So this is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Sunil ji. That was a very comprehensive, good coverage of everything about Kashmir, starting from rituals, traditions, nature. Just wanted to ask you how when did Sanskrit disappear? See, you still have Kashmiri, but easy to say that nobody is living there anymore. So people are driven out. That could be one reason. But Sanskrit must have been a spoken language there, right?
Yeah, you see, Kashmir had a great Sanskrit tradition, and that is why Kashmiri Hindus are known as Pandits. That's why Kashmiri Pandits word got coined, because everybody was a Sanskrit scholar. But the primary reason of Sanskrit getting away from the Kashmir was when the Islam came to Kashmir. The earlier, during their first 100 years, Sanskrit still remained as a language of kings. The court language still was Sanskrit, but down the line, when this further got the Islamic rule was further strengthened in Kashmir, so the language court language became Persian. So those who knew
Hmm.
Persian,
Okay.
they used to get the jobs in the administration, in the day-to-day works of the state. So therefore, Sanskrit got removed from the history of Kashmir, from the local language, and Persian took the emergence.
No, the
So
reason I asked, yeah, please go ahead. You said something.
this happened only during the reign of the famous Kashmiri king known as Zainul Abidin. He was considered as one of the most secular kings of Kashmir, but he is the one who made the Persian the court language and removed the Sanskrit.
No, the reason I asked the question, to the extent you have Kashmiri still spoken among families, there is absolutely no trace of Sanskrit anywhere.
I differ a bit. There had been means, for example, in Sanskrit we say gach, gashta, gachanti, gach, and gach is still a word in Kashmiri. So eyes in Sanskrit, eyes known as akshi. So we call it ach. So means the root word of many body parts or names of our activities still are in Sanskrit, but they are a bit deformed. We can say over the years it got changed. But
No,
if we go to
that is same
etymology only,
in other languages too. You know,
yes, yes.
Samskrita Bharati conducts a 10-day course
Hmm.
using the words that you already know. They are Sanskrit words.
Correct,
So you would come out as if you were able to speak Sanskrit, all because the way they promote it.
correct, correct.
So that way, Kashmiri has more Sanskrit words, is it? That what you're using, same like
Yes,
other
yes.
languages.
There are many words in a day-to-day spoken Kashmiri which have a etymology of those roots are words are in Sanskrit. No doubt about that. But over the years, as you know, these get changed, and local uh, language gets developed, and a bit of a change over the phonetics or of these words gets changed. So that's how it is in Kashmir also.
You also mentioned about dejur, what women wear on the ear, and you said not to confuse with Mangal Sutra. So Mangal Sutra is also there, is it?
No, in Kashmir, Mangal Sutra is not considered used, because in the rest of the India, the philosophy is that if somebody's husband dies, this Mangal Sutra is to be removed. But in Kashmir, we give this dejur, which is basically Sri Yantra, and Sri Yantra is given to these ladies as brides to carry along with them throughout their life. Even if their husband dies, this is not to be removed, because she has still carried the propagation, emanation. She has given the her means she has given her contribution to the family, means in the form of children, in the form of day-to-day activities, lives. So she has done what the Shakti is doing. So this is basically giving the respect to the lady, that you are basically the embodiment of Shakti. So nobody can take your right from that. So this de jure will remain with you lifelong.
This is still practiced today, is it? Even in
Yes, it is still practiced. This is a
Kashmiri
very
Pandit.
important. I mean, many of the rituals may have gone away, but de jure is an important component which a girl themselves want. Even if they marry a non-Kashmiri, they still want that this de jure should be given to them because it has Sri Yantra. They may not be knowing this is basically a Sri Yantra vote, but this is as an ornament. They definitely want this to be used,
No,
worn.
lots of things common. A few things are sticking around like that in the south also. Not all the
Correct.
traditions, pick and choose type of a thing. But a
Yes,
few
yes.
things they are following it up very seriously. Now, on the shrines, you mentioned about Amarnath. To the extent Amarnath is very popular and people go, rest of the pilgrimage sites are not that common, is it? I mean, outside of Kashmir, I mean, Kashmiris, you know all that.
See, Amarnath Shrine was basically famous because Nath yogis, Gorakhnathis, they considered Amarnath as their primary deity. Amareshwar, this cave is also known as Amareshwar cave. So these Nath Panthis like Gorakhnathis, they consider their most important shrine, Amarnath. So these yogis, these Naga yogis, there's the Gorakhnathis and other sects, Digambar Hindus and different akhadas, they consider that this is an important center of their yogic tradition. So they made it more famous. Rest of the shrines they couldn't connect. I don't know what would have been the reasons. Maybe they feel more affinity towards Amareshwar as compared to others like Harsheshwar or Gangabal. So they remained localized only. As it happens in every geography region, some place becomes more famous as compared to the other.
You also mentioned about to Swamiji Lakshmanju. We had a speaker, I think Munshi ji. So Munshi came and
Doctor,
Munshi spoke
yeah, yeah.
about that some time ago. Are people visiting this ashram now in
Yes, yes,
Kashmir, in spite of
yes.
all what is happening?
Despite all this, this ashram is open throughout the year. Devotees all over the country come and stay there, study Kashmir Shaiva Darshana. Even few months back, a lecture series on Kashmir Shaiva Darshana was performed there, done there for 3 days. And on yearly basis, two important festivals are done. One is the Jayanti of Swami Lakshmanju Maharaj, and another is the his Nirvan Divas that is also observed over there. Devotees come there, stay there, perform there, and that is the annual activity over there. Apart from that, Abhinav Gup Jayanti is there, Utpal Dev Jayanti there, Swami Ram Jayanti is there, so that is regularly being observed here.
No, I know you have your own channel too. I've seen some of your videos.
Yeah, yeah.
You covered many of the things that you spoke about today in your own videos.
Correct,
So
correct.
people can go and then watch those videos. How many videos
Yeah.
you have in that?
I have some 120 videos of different shrines of Kashmir. I made small videos, maybe not too professionally as it should have been done, but then it was all we all are learning. Maybe sometime in future, with the blessings of Adi Shakti, maybe I will make it more refined. So those who want to understand more about the antiquity of Kashmir, different shrines of Kashmir, they can visit my channel, which is known by the name of Bhairav Vimarsh. So they can
Bhairav
go
Vimash.
and Bhairav Vimarsh and can understand different philosophies or different shrines, understand the different places of worship in Kashmir. See, the beauty of Kashmir, you see everything like there is a famous place in Kashmir called Pahalgam, which is the first step towards the Amarnath. You might have heard about it. The river flowing from the Pahalgam now is known as River Lidar. The Sanskrit name of the river Lidar is Lambodri. Why it is called Lambodri? Because it is at this place Lord Ganesha had a fight with Lord Indra, and the river was named as Lambodri. So it is has a serpentine like a trunk of a elephant. So see how everything is connected to the divinity in Kashmir. So people may not be knowing Lider's etymology or the epistemology of whole of these things. But if we go deep, we can understand that everything there is Sanatan.
Absolutely. There is somebody made a comment here. Small number of people visit a few years back. Dr. Ganju, a Sanskrit and Sharda scholar, was active
Yeah.
Kashmir.
Yeah, Dr. Ganju was a great Shavacharya also. He passed away a few years back. Means his contribution to the Kashmir philosophy, and he was the one who still continued to go to his master's ashram in the downtown Srinagar, maintained that ashram, which is known as Swami Ram Ashram, who was the grand guru of Swami Lakshmanju Maharaj, and performed all the daily rituals over there. So his loss is indeed a great loss to all the Shaivites, and particularly to those who are very much interested in the Kashmir, because he was an encyclopedia in our current times. May that great Ganju Sahib attain the moksha in the divine feet of Lord Shiva.
We always would like to know what is next. With all this rich heritage, past glory, culture, and what Kashmir has offered to India, with all the Kashmiri Pandits staying outside. So things are changing, I hope.
See, change is the law of nature. And since we have been deprived of the place of Kashmir, but Kashmir is in the hearts of every Kashmiri, not because that it's because of its calm and cool environment, because the very being of Kashmir gives you the connect to the spiritual self. It gives you the joy of being connected to that Parashakti and Param Shiv, because our day-to-day lives are directly connected to that spiritual realm, and without that our lives are incomplete. So those who are connecting, I would request that every one of us should at least study something of our different geographical places. Like I studied something about Tamil Nadu or Kerala or Odisha. Last year I went to Odisha, also studied about the various worshipping forms of Lord Shiva and Vishnu over there. So this is how we should continue. We should try to enhance our knowledge of different geographical places, and also the people who are there. Though at the substratum of all this, we are all connected to that Sanatan, to that Vedic Advaitic philosophy, but to know it at the face is very important.
No, in spite of what is going on and what we read, that spirit is still kept alive. That's really
That
amazing.
has to.
Talking to
that-
every Kashmiri Pandit, it's all in the fingertips. Talking about Kashmir, a few weeks ago we had about Bhairava tradition. You
Correct,
highlighted
correct.
most of the things you talked about. You yourself mentioned that you're going to appear in our program, so we'll be very pleased to have you sometime next year.
Sure, sure,
Um,
sure.
Sometime February, March, we will have you again, and
Definitely.
maybe you can choose some most recent current topic that you have in mind.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. And again, please convey my pranam to Paramacharya ji of Kanchi Kamkoti Peetam. And I hope whatever feedback you give me, maybe I will improve upon it in the future as well. Thanks again for giving me this opportunity. Namaskar to all of you.
Thank you, Sunilji. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Pranam.
Pranamji. Thank you, viewers. It has been a wonderful presentation. As always, we have been covering Kashmir for almost 70 weeks now. Today is the 69th week. You can always go back and check our previous videos. There is a wide coverage by now, and we are going to continue next year too. We don't have a depth of speakers at all, so more topics also will be forthcoming. We want to thank Kanchi Mud Channels for covering this in a video, including Kamakodi.tv, Kamakodi.org, and then Kanchi Mud YouTube channels. Not to forget BDSP for all the streaming support week after week, especially by Raja, who is supporting us, and India's leading only Tamil newspaper, Dinamalar, which is giving a wide coverage of our activities. We'll meet again next Saturday. Jai Jai Shankara, Hara Hara Shankara.